Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I want to talk to you about a problem that shouldn't be a problem, but it is a problem, and it's probably going to continue to be a problem forever. And it's one of those things that it's people's first impulse to do, despite being ridiculous. And that is people's attempt to verbally describe a sound. And where I encounter this the most is usually in, I guess, something like a K tutorial where someone wants to request for me a sound to recreate. And this happens, I guess, also in lessons when people, again, they want to request sounds for me to recreate. And so to identify the sound, they begin to explain it with words. And they say things like, oh, it's that like choppy, dense, whippy, like orange sounding bass. And you're just like, what? This is why in the K tutorials, I specifically and very explicitly say, if you want to make a request, which by the way, I'm done doing that. I didn't finish them, but I'm done doing that. Like I asked for like an audio example and a timestamp because no amount of verbal explanation is going to allow me to know what you're talking about unless you explain stuff. Unless you like in your process of explaining what the sound is, you've also explained how to make it. Or you're just like, it's that FM bass where you modulate the fundamental with like an octave higher modulator, and then there's a higher frequency modulator daisy chained in there, and then you put on some, it sounds like you got some unison, and then like then you filter the whole thing with like a bandpass filter into some distortions, and then I'm like, why'd you need my help to make that? And that, especially in the age where on YouTube comments, nonetheless, you can post links to videos now. You can post links to anywhere as far as I'm aware. And people are still trying to like cheat the system, be like, oh, here's the link. And they give you like the watch numbers, not the whole link, because they think it's still 2006 when they're blocking people from posting links. Like, thanks, Facebook. Thank you. And so it's just, it gets me. And this is actually part of a larger problem that I have attempted to solve in my own videos when I do sound design videos where I'm like how to bass, for example, where I'm going to go, hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new how to bass tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make this sound, and then I show you the sound. I don't try to explain what it is. I don't try to say what it is. I don't try to do anything about it other than show it to you because that's the only thing that actually matters in terms of your interest in whether or not you care about the sound. And like, I always do that. Like I've always expressed disdain when people don't do that. But like I've my older videos that are rife with examples of me just kind of like meandering on about something before I ever actually showed a sound. And that, like, if I was watching that video, I would have been mad. But I just have in my memory, burned in my memory, an extremely specific example of just like how egregiously bad it is when people try to explain a sound. And it was this video. I was looking up how to mic guitar cabinets, right? I was looking up for techniques for like aiming a mic at a guitar cabinet, which it turns out you just aim a mic at a guitar cabinet. Wow, you aim a mic at a guitar cabinet. I ruined that so hard just now. I'm kind of sick if you don't notice, but like, it's obviously more than that, but like I was watching a tutorial video about it, and so here's this guy, right? He's in a recording studio. He's got a guitar cabinet. He's got a microphone that's plugged in to a cable in a recording studio, and like he's got a mic on himself, and he's like kneeling next to it. And he's like, it's oh my god, and so he starts talking about what happens when you aim the mic at a guitar's cabinet speaker and like you angle it around as farther away. He's describing the change that it makes to the sound. And like the whole time that he's doing this, see, I can understand it when you're explaining a sound when you're like literally incapable of like showing examples because you don't have examples. Like if someone were making a guitar making tutorial where they're just kind of briefly explaining what happens because they don't want to set it up. They don't want to set up the whole, chain of things necessary to like, actually show you an example of what the sound sounds like. But this guy was in a recording studio with everything set up. It was there. He had the setup. And I don't understand in any educational capacity how what he was doing was better than just plugging in a guitar and being like, so here's what it sounds like when it's straight on, bling, and here's the difference when we start moving it. In fact, let me play it while we move it and just kind of listen to it for a second and to see what happens. Like that would have been far more valuable than like anything he could have possibly have said. And then accompanied with things he said, suddenly people will start to understand terminology and linkage together and that kind of thing. Because here's the rub, really, is that anyone's idea about what a word means is slightly different from anyone else's idea of what a word means. And especially if we're using these words that really honestly don't encapsulate perfectly descriptions of how things sound, then a person's description that may mean a perfect idea of how that thing sounds to them is not going to mean the same thing to someone else. Here's a wonderful example. When I describe my perfect bass tone, like for a metal band, like here's an example. I like the tone for most Children of Bodom songs. So go listen to a Children of Bodom song or like a Lamb of God song. That kind of bass tone. Or Tool has a little bit of that same deal. It's a little bit less intense. Like that's the bass tone that I like, right? Or modern Periphery tracks, like from the track Periphery album Clear, has a really excellent examples of the bass tone that I like. I describe that like in my mind when I'm thinking like how I want to describe it to other people. The word I want to say is that it sounds like a refrigerator. It's a refrigerator bass. I was like, oh, it's really refrigeratory. Like I say that, and I mean it. And but I also know that when I say that to other people, they haven't the fuckest idea what I'm talking about. That in no way like illuminates for them how my bass is gonna sound. And when I play it, I tell them that they're just like, what does that got to do with a refrigerator? What the hell kind of refrigerators are you using? Like those are responses that I get. Like, and I'm prepared for that, which is why I don't ever tell anybody that like it sounds like a refrigerator, unless I understand that it's kind of funny and I want them to know that that's what I think. Like that's how dumb it is when someone tries to be like, it's that squishy kind of light, crystalline sounding. Like, I'm like, guys, just play that. You're gonna play the sound anyway. That's why you're here. Play the sound. That's all you need to do. And there's so many hours of just like needless communication can be solved by just examples, which goes back to, like I said, the how to bass thing, where like, you know, show your example, like the very beginning, back to like, you know, good tutorial etiquette, which like whenever I go to like the EDM production subreddit on Reddit and I look up, I want to see what they're doing, and people who are just being like, I made a sound design tutorial. I go look at the tutorial, I go look, and the first thing I look for, like not even what the sound they made, not how big they are, not like the response people are given, not anything at all. The first thing I do is I wait to see how long it takes them to play the sound of the video that I started. Like I hit it, I time it, and like if they're not doing it within 30 seconds, there's something wrong with the video. Like that's just that. And like thankfully, people seem to have caught on to this fact, and people tend to, you know, play the damn thing, which is pretty great. But like, and like I said before, I've also been, you know, I've done this, but I don't play the sound fast enough. And sometimes I still do this because I forget that people don't exclusively like to listen to me talk. Which, as a YouTuber, most people who are YouTubers who do this long enough, who do this by themselves, eventually forget that people are not there to listen to them talk exclusively. So, like, they are not always paying attention to the idea that people are there for something else, especially if they do tutorials. So like that's the first thing I look for. I'm just kind of like, how long does it take them to play the sound? That's first fucking thing. And then like if it takes something longer than that, and like if I feel like for some reason I want to like critique their stuff, that's the first thing I'm going to say, is that just like, you know, whatever the hell else about your video, man, play the sound in the beginning of the thing. And you know, universally the response I get from the guy is like, man, you're right, I totally should have done that. I hate it when people don't do that. Like they know, you know, all of you know that this is obnoxious when you try to deal with it with someone else, but for some reason like people forget when they're the ones doing it. Like they forget that like when they've tried to find tutorials before and they had to sit through like skip around trying to find examples of the actual finished product they want, just to see that the video they actually care about watching. They forget that they had to do that when they go make their own thing, and then also, you know, they forget that when someone else tries to explain to them what a sound sounds like, it's like, oh, could you make like. And then, like, I'm not doing the K tutorials anymore, but I still, like, get a smattering of requests, like, you know, on Facebook comments and messages and emails and whatever. And people still just don't give me examples. And, like, I don't know what they expect. Because, like, I've never even done that. Like, whenever I've tried to explain to someone what a sound is, unless I'm just, like, I say things like, oh, noisier Reese. There's kind of a lot of noisier Reeses, and there's more every year. But, like, at least you kind of have a baseline idea of what that's supposed to mean. But if someone's like, make a Jaws bass, Waz, is that his name? I don't know how to say that guy, Jauz. And like now I know what they're talking about when they say that, because apparently that's like those are like two basses. But like especially if I have never heard of the artist, which is like super duper likely, by the way, not just because like I'm not into whatever you're into, but it's because I listen to a lot of music. It's kind of hard to listen to music while you're making music, as I'm sure plenty of you who make music understand. Like it's not like I always kind of feel like a little jealous about like visual artists and like writers and I don't know, wood chippers, wood chippers. That's an entire range of art, wood chipping, like that. You know, they get to do their thing and listen to music. They get to find new music, do what they're doing, and then do it. You know, but like I can't. I can barely watch television while I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing because I can't. It distracts from like being able to listen to what's happening. Like so, I gotta. It's like a thing that I'm doing that I have to be doing what I'm doing, and that's the end of that. It's very solitary. As a result, though, because most people don't have the kind of freedom to be doing what I want to do 24/7, which means that they're doing other stuff, which means they have freedom to listen to music while they're doing other stuff, like homework or something. I haven't had homework in like 8 years. So I don't listen to a lot of music. So there's like a huge possibility, like there's more likely than not, I do not know what a person sounds like. So when someone's like, oh, could you make like what was a good example? Like, Panda something, Omega Panda? Something Panda. There's like a reasonable artist. Showed up a lot in older K tutorials, but like, I don't know what they sound like. And they define it as being like this guy bass. I'm like, I go listen to it. And then like there might be like an average of a kind of bass that he makes, but then there'll be different basses of that kind. It's like, I don't know what specific one. And like, no, you gave me a thing. I'm asking you questions. And then you give me like more qualifiers. And I'm just like, get an example. Show me an example. Then none of this whole thing would have had to be a thing. And then you just gave it to me. And then I know. And then I have it. I really don't understand why that's not the first impulse in like what we're doing here. Because that's all of this is in our entire world. And what kills me most about this is that like everyone has experienced the frustration that I've experienced, where they've asked about like, you know, what kind of sound this is, or even attempted to explain to someone what a sound was, and then ultimately had to give them an example. Like, and then after the first time that happens, how is it that you ever have to do that again? How is it that you ever? Someone's calling me, but I don't care. How is it that you ever think that you can get away with doing that right again? A part of it, I guess, is because they assume that like, at least by name dropping, they probably assume that I'll know what they're talking about. But then, like, once that doesn't work, no amount of explanation beyond that's going to happen. No, it's going to work. But of course, they think it will. That's obviously why they do it, because they think it'll work. But like, it's like, oh, make that like FM bass. I'm like, that could be literally anything. That could be every sound in this song. Even if it wasn't made with FM, I'm pretty sure I can make it with FM. Like, it could be everything that's happening right now. It could be the kick drum. Like, come on. And it's moral of the story, guys, just don't explain sounds. Ain't gonna work. Unless I said before, like in the beginning, that like your explanation is just how it's made. Like, oh, like, how do you make that bass that's like 2 sine waves and the higher sine wave and you distort it? I'm like, oh, well, it's 2 sine waves and the higher sine wave and you distort it. Yeah. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And also don't forget that I have a sale on lessons that's happening right now that ends at the end of May. So if you want to get it at cheapo prices, now's the time to do that. And as usual, have a nice day.